The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Patra, and it's a special night tonight, guys. We get the back-to-back nights, and I am joined for this Thursday, December 12th card with my good friend, Andrew Hansen. Andrew, how are we doing today, man?
Doing well, Mike. Yeah, I'm excited, and I've already been looking ahead at the slate, trying to scour the rosters here for somebody who can score 100, because we had a big night this week in college. The older brother of Jarrett Culver, J.J. Culver, scored 100 in an NAIA game on Tuesday. And, you know, if that wasn't news enough, we both got a chuckle looking at the box score, because he went 34 of 62 from the field. The rest of the team combined to go 8 for 15. But the other thing I noticed is that J.J. Culver went 20 for 27 from the line. And this brings me to the stat of the day, which is that Jarrett Culver is only shooting 45.1% from the free throw line. He's 23 of 51. Can you believe that?
Sounds like this team, or these two brothers, weren't practicing their free throws growing up, man.
I know, but I mean, at least JJ was respectable in his 100-point outing, so he may need to teach Jarrett how to shoot. And so I actually went and looked at Jarrett's regular stats, because I knew his free throw shooting was bad, but he's only shooting 38% from the field, 26% from three-point land. So we're not going to look to somebody like Jarrett Culver to try and get 100 points here in the NBA.
Listen, if I knew I was getting a guy that was taking 64 shot attempts on this given slate, I'd be paying $20K for him. Give him to me, $20K, lock it in, staple in my lineup. No, that was all right. Listen, I don't care what level you're playing at. I mean, that's got to be a pretty tough feat to get to, man. 100 points. Now that we're talking about it, 100 points.
Yeah, and I mean, that does not happen very often.
That's a fat DK game. Well, before we get started, guys, we're going to be talking about the 4-game card tonight. And Andrew, you brought a little something to my attention, that one of these games will be played in Mexico City as well. So it's going to be a little bit of a fun slate. But before we jump in there, just a nice quick shout out to our presenting sponsors, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. Andrew, we've talked about this several times, and I've been trying to recruit Miles into the coffee train. He says he doesn't like it too much. So Miles, when you're listening, if you don't like the coffee, buy it as a gift, guys. We have the holidays coming right around the corner. Check them out. They have plenty of little gift packages. You can check them out over at HawaiianIsles.com, or you can just visit them on Amazon. It's very simple. Just type in the Amazon search bar, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. Check out all the different blends. Get the drone to drop it off, and get a couple stocking stuffers, or send somebody a nice little coffee basket. I know I would be very thankful if I got a big basket full of Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. It was probably one of my top gifts, and I think I would probably just stop opening presents at that moment.
You'd be distracted, wouldn't you?
I would go straight
to the kitchen.
Right to the Keurig bed. I'd go straight to my, right in there. I'd open it up, throw it in, and that's it. I'm good to go. I would start my day, and I'd look at the rest of the gifts underneath the tree, and they'd get donated, because I already got the best thing that money can buy, which is a nice liquid black gold coming out of the K-Cup.
That's a creative idea for Miles, is to get it as a gift. But if he does that, I mean, he really should get one packet for himself and just give it a try, because it almost doesn't qualify as coffee. It's like its own beverage.
Absolutely, man. It's a delicacy.
It's just that good.
It really is. And I'm all for it. You're all for it. We got Coach on board. I'm sure we've had plenty of listeners now who've went out there and just heard us talk about this stuff. We don't just preach it. I wouldn't spend this much time on it as just a regular ad read. I truly love this stuff, guys. And I think we all do now. I'm speaking for everybody on this one. So Great. Awesome. Got that out of the way. They're fantastic. Check them out. And also, if you get a chance, sign up for the Brews Letter. It's absolutely free, guys. Just go on to hoopball.com. It's just, if you're playing year-long fantasy, it's just a staple. It's something that's free. It's something that I've been paying attention to. It comes through once every week. And Aaron Brewski over here, the Hoopball founder and the mecca for us over here. He just generally runs through every single team, all the news, all the updates, and just hits on everything. It's an absolute fantastic feature, and it's free. So check it out, guys. Subscribe to that, and definitely check over at Mike, the Panda Pastor's premium content for his feature article of the week. So, got that out of the way, man. We're going to jump right into this. Fairly quick night, small card. I kind of like these 4 to 6 game slates sometimes, though. In between these massive, like tonight we had an 11-game one. I say tonight because we are recording this the night before. So, Andrew, we're going to jump right into this. We have the Philadelphia 76ers traveling to Boston to take on the Celtics. I'm a gentleman. Lead us
Yes,
off.
you are. I'll go with the home team here in the Northeast. I'll start with the Celtics, and they do have some news. I was watching tonight, and Gordon Hayward got popped in the face by Doug McDermott. So it's like one thing after another for Hayward. He had to leave. It looked like he easily could have broken his nose or who knows what. So he's certainly questionable at this point. As you mentioned, it's only 10:30 here on Wednesday night, so we don't know what the latest is on him. But I'd say there's a decent chance he's going to be out. And Marcus Smart didn't play tonight with a left eye infection. So I'm looking ahead towards this game thinking there's a chance they both miss, in which case I'd be very interested in stacking Kemba, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown because I think they're going to soak up all that extra usage. So that's my first thought with the Celtics, and all 3 of those guys are priced well. Kemba went off tonight. He scored 44. So that was fun to watch. And this is a back-to-back, but like I said, if those other 2 wing players are out, then I have a lot more interest in this side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, just Hayward commands a high usage. I mean, it's only his second game back tonight. So, we kind of were going to see that, take form, and a lot of the usage was going to eventually drift away from, Kemba, Tatum, and Brown, and Hayward was going to absorb that back. With him out, we can look at these guys again. I feel perfectly comfortable looking at, those 3 wing perimeter players because it's going to have to come from them. And, Philly's a tough defense and all, but Boston is going to keep this game close. We know these 2 teams are very competitive when they play each other, and the scoring's going to have to come from somewhere. So I'm perfectly fine looking at those 3 guys. Their price tags are still a little elevated. It would have been nice to, really jump on them, maybe get, a little bit of a depressed salary from Hayward playing a few games. We're still kind of seeing these guys marked up a little bit. But it's a 4-game slate, man, so we can't just go crossing every name off right away. We don't have the luxury that we had tonight where we could just bounce around from game to game and take one-offs everywhere we want. This is probably slated to be one of the more competitive games on the night.
Yeah, you're right. It's a 1-point spread right now. And I'm glad you mentioned the Philly D because these 2 teams played in the season opener, and Kemba really struggled. He went 4 for 18. So of the 3 guys I mentioned, he's probably the one I'm least interested in. I'm more interested in Tatum at 7.1. And then Brown would be next on the list at 6.6. And then if we're looking for a potential value play for the Celtics, if those 2 guys are out, I think you can look at Carson Edwards. He's minimum salary. I think there's a chance he could get 20 minutes and maybe get 6 or 7x return.
Yeah, I definitely think he'd be in playing. Also, I think I would probably take a look at Brad Wanamaker. He plays a little bit of the 1 and the 2. Can play both positions, and I think he's probably just a pitch safer in the rotation as far as minutes. I think Edwards would benefit a little bit more from a blowout, but I don't know how much run he would get necessarily with this game staying close for all 4 quarters. So both tournament plays. I mean, at the end of the day, it's minimum salary, so you almost get what you pay for sometimes in that kind of situation.
Yeah, you're right. $100 more.
Yeah.
So I agree. Actually, he is safer, but we have seen Edwards really heat up from 3. So more of a tournament play. But you're right. I do like Wanamaker at 3.1.
Oh yeah, Edwards can light it up though. Exactly. He gets it going. He gets hot. We've seen just everything from when he was over there at I believe it was Purdue, right? Purdue he's where he played
Yes,
college.
sir.
Yeah, lit it
Yep.
up in the tournament, and we've seen it a few times during the preseason and during the regular season as well. When he gets hot, he's hot. He's not afraid to chuck. He has unlimited range. He'll start taking those wild, 3-point shots where he's 3 or 4 feet behind the line with a ton of room. So yeah, I can definitely see getting some shares in him. I just probably wouldn't overexpose. Not a bad play though. Not trying to call you out. Man, I definitely do like it.
No, I'm glad you reminded me of Wanamaker because I do think he's the safer play for the guards off the bench.
All right, man. So anything left over to Boston, or are you ready to slide over to the Philly side?
Let's talk Philly.
All right, man. So, I guess I'll start us off, and I think we just got to look at the top. Start with Joel Embiid, 9,500. I think that's a fair price tag going against Boston. Their front court pretty weak. He dominated them in the first time that these two teams met up earlier in the season. He only played 23 minutes, put up almost 44 DK points, 15 points, and 13 boards. So I think that's where I'm going to look, man. I think he's going to come in there. I think he's going to be one of my favorite center options on the slate, and that's a lot to be said because we have 3 top tier centers to choose from, 4 if you want to include Whiteside. So yeah, man, I think that's pretty much it for me. I like myself some Joel Embiid. I have no problem looking at Horford in this revenge type scenario at 5,900. It's a fair price tag for him. We generally know when Embiid's playing, we're not going to get that full upside and that ceiling type performance out of him. So if you wanted to shy away from a little bit more in GPPs and kind of look at him as a better cash game option, I think that's definitely an option. And I think I'm going to steer clear of Ben Simmons, 7,600. He's kind of struggled against Boston in the past. Their perimeter D's been pretty well. Pretty good job against him dating back to last season. The game that they played earlier in the year, he did perform well, but I'm going to kind of consider that the outlier, and I'm just going to kind of get my exposure mostly with the guys in the front court. I know Boston's pretty weak on the interior.
Yeah, good takes. Embiid certainly can overpower Tice, and I think there's a real good chance he'll play more minutes than he did in the season opener. I really like the narrative with Horford coming back to Boston. I think he'll get a warm reception. It won't be anything like we would have predicted for Kyrie Irving. Horford was here a lot longer, and he was a fan favorite. So I think he'll be feeling the good vibes. So I like him at 5.9. And you're right, Simmons historically has struggled against the Celtics. They've done a real good job game planning against him. So maybe that was an outlier in the opener. But in the 4-game slate, I'm not going to cross him off the list. I'm going to get him in a couple lineups for sure. And then the only other guy I've got as a note here for Philly is Matisse Thybulle at 4.0. I think this game fits him really well. In that season opener, he didn't get too much, but he was, he's a rookie. He's getting his feet wet, and he just matches up well with a lot of the Boston wings. So I like him at 4.0.
I love his game, man. I love his defensive ability, and very site specific. Because when you look at a site like over at FanDuel, where they give you a little bit more points for the defensive stats, he can really shine in those kinds of environments. Josh Richardson is back. That might, impact him slightly. We were kind of seeing him get starter level minutes for a few games here and there. Back down to 26 in Richardson's first game back last game. So still enough minutes where he can produce at that price tag. Very fair price tag at DraftKings. Also small forward eligible. Just keep in mind that with Richardson's minutes slowly getting ramped back up, those are probably going to come from Thybulle. So I'm monitoring it, but I'm not crossing him off because I still think that's a solid value at 4K. So I'm glad you brought him up, man. And I just wanted to also mention, I would not probably recommend playing Embiid and Horford in the same lineup either. Maybe if you're going with somebody else at center, you want to pay up on either Drummond or Jokic, and then you still want to get some exposure against that Boston front court. That probably seems like the prime scenario to fire up Horford over Embiid.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm predominantly going to go with Horford and not Embiid. So we may, but I agree, one or the other.
All right, man. I think we're ready to move on to the next one. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers traveling to San Antonio. So we have the Mavericks are going to be leaving Texas, going to Mexico City. San Antonio will be staying into the Lone Star State. And we have the Cavs are on the second half of a back-to-back, so they actually kept the game close against the Rockets. Go figure. because that's how the NBA works this season. So,
Seriously.
I didn't have a ton of Harden on tonight's slate. I kind of went with a lot of that balanced approach. I did get him in one or two lineups, but it's okay. I'm still looking okay. It's not like I'm not gonna win money and I'm not gonna cash just because I didn't have Harden. But he did go out there and drop a big game. So, we got to look at this Cleveland team. They did keep this game close, but that's not easy, and that comes at a price to pay. I have a feeling that we might see these guys a little bit of a little battered, a little bruised, and a little tired. But they get to face this San Antonio team that does not look like a general San Antonio team. We know that they have just been a dumpster fire all season long. Porous defense and playing at a little bit of a faster pace than they normally would. So, which team would you like to start with, Andrew?
I'll start with the Spurs because I noticed that they're in a weird scheduling quirk here. They haven't played since last Friday. So they're really rested up, and that doesn't mean a whole lot because it's the Spurs. I mean, they could approach it like, well, we haven't played since last Friday, so let's just give everybody 24 minutes. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But DeRozan, if there's anybody who's going to get more minutes, it's DeRozan. He had 40 minutes last time out. So he is the one guy I have circled on this game. He's 7.3 on DraftKings. I think that's an excellent price for him. So he's my favorite target. I was curious about DeJounte Murray.
Oh, yeah.
Because, he finally got a little bit of an edge in minutes. Last game he got 32 minutes, but now he's priced up to 5.6. So I'm not a huge fan of that price. And LaMarcus Aldridge, 7.0. I think that's a solid price. I think he'll do well against Cleveland's front court, but I just don't trust him quite as much. So DeRozan's my favorite play over there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind paying that price tag on DeRozan, knowing that he's playing all those minutes. But you hit the nail on the head. I like that you mentioned Murray, man. I have a ton of interest in DeJounte Murray in this matchup. I don't mind paying that 5,600 for him if I know he's playing 30+ minutes, and I don't think it's a fluke. Popovich came out and kind of hinted at that Murray's going to no longer be playing on any sort of minutes restriction. Does that mean he's going to see 30+ minutes every night? No, probably not, because they still have Derek White, Patty Mills, and Lonnie Walker over there. So there's a chance that we see his minutes dip back down to the mid-20s. I wouldn't be shocked. So that's making him more of a GPP to sort of play instead of a cash game play. But DeJounte Murray playing 30+ minutes is absolutely huge, especially against his Cleveland backcourt, which is very, very porous. They're just very terrible on defense altogether. And this guy could just produce in so many different ways. He's very good defensively. He can rack up rebounds and assists very quickly. Doesn't need to score a whole lot. So, yeah, he's probably going to be my favorite option on the San Antonio side.
Well, that's reassuring to hear. I hadn't heard that quote, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's something that I always try to jump on when you know that we're going to get these guys coming off of a minutes restriction. If we know Murray's playing, let's say, averaging 34 or 32 minutes a night, something along those lines, this guy would be priced at 65 to 7K. He can just easily rack up rebounds. This is a rebounding guard where he can easily pull down 12 or 13 boards in those sort of minutes, especially when you're talking about the guys that are around him aren't necessarily, you don't see Aldridge averaging double-digit boards anymore like he used to when he was back in Portland. And DeRozan's not that type of guy that's mixing it up in there in the paint either too much. So Murray chops it up, and I absolutely love his game. I love him for season long and for DFS. If he's going to continue playing this, he's going to be a very, very primary focus of mine when the Spurs are on the slate. I mean, I would probably prefer playing him point per dollar over DeRozan if I know he's going to play 30+ minutes.
Yeah, if we could just have that assurance from Pop.
That's the only thing, man.
I'm going to have my fingers crossed. I'm expecting we'll get that before tip.
Oh, you'll never get anything straight out of Pop. So I hope listeners understood that there had to be some sarcasm involved in you
complete
that,
sarcasm.
Yeah, we'll get the exact. Yeah, Pop will be very straight and straightforward with us before the press conference. I'm sure he'll tell the media everything. And that's the big caveat there is that Popovich could easily throw this out because Patty Mills also played 30+ minutes in the last game as well. So another thing I wanted to mention, both those guys did play 30+. Both those guys would be a player for me at 4,100, at 5,600. Those would be my two primary focuses. Probably wouldn't play them together. Again, they're going to impact each other's value. We really just want one of them playing 30 minutes. It's just Popovich, man. We don't know how this is going to work. So monitor the news. maybe we do here. Maybe he wants to be nice to us for once. But I'm not going to count on it. I'm just going to be rolling out Murray, I think, either way.
Nice.
All right. Anything else from San Antonio? Are you ready to move over?
No, tell me what you think about these Cavaliers, because in looking at the box score, it looked like the guy that exceeded value the most was Kevin Porter Jr. He went for 24, 2, 3, and 3 against the Rockets. He's only 3.6. Are you going to chase those points?
Those are tough points to chase. I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
I don't mind it at the end of the day. Like if you happen to land on it and it's like the last guy going into your lineup and it's just rounding out nicely, at that point I don't mind it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to try to get a good discounted player with Kevin Porter Jr. and just throwing him in there at 3,600. It's worth noting that they're probably going to be limiting Kevin Love's minutes here and there. So, I mean, in that game he did play 32, and Porter still got good run. So, they might just be gradually bringing him along in this rotation, knowing that they're going to be trading Kevin Love soon. So, keep an eye on it. I'm glad you brought him up. I think it's something definitely worth monitoring. But I just don't know if I'll be ending there at the end of the day. I mean, I don't need to go ahead and try to force too many guys into my lineups. I mean, it's pretty much been built for me. I think you're getting two studs in your lineup is the way that you're going to be constructing it. I don't know if at the end of the day we're going to have enough value to rely on to really get three of those expensive guys, whether, it's like an Embiid, Doncic, and Lillard. I think that's going to be too much. So I just don't. I think a lot of people are going to try to go that route and force those guys in there to get the three studs. And unless Kevin Porter goes out there and puts up one of those 25 or 30-point games, you're going to be kind of in trouble, in my opinion. So I really don't have too much interest in anybody on the Cleveland side. I've been kind of avoiding these guys left and right for most of the season. It's just too hard. The backcourt is too deep. The front court, they get limited very often. And then they all cut into each other's value, whether it's Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and Larry Nance Jr. So I'm going to let you take the wheel on this one, just because I've been kind of off of this team for the most part all season.
Yeah, I don't have anybody circled for Cleveland. I think they are in a really tough spot after that tight game tonight against Houston at home, to have to travel down to Texas to face the rested Spurs. I think it's a recipe for a disaster because, I think this is a must-win for the Spurs. They're 9-14. This is a game that they have to win if they want to try to creep back into the picture here. If you really wanted to play somebody on the Cavs for some reason, I think you could also look at Jordan Clarkson at 4.4. That's a good price for him. And I think we just need to wait and see what the news is because, who knows if Kevin Love's going to play. So you could go with somebody in the front court. I mean, it's a fair price for Tristan Thompson at 6.1, but I think there's a very good chance I won't be playing any Cavaliers.
Yeah, I mean, and when you bring up fair price tags, Kevin Love is at a more than fair price tag. If we know he's playing 32 minutes at 6,200, he's definitely in play. He'd actually,
right,
could possibly be a core play, but I just don't know what they're going to do. I mean, he's a very injury-prone player. You don't want your guy getting hurt if you got him announced on the trade block. I mean, he wants to go to a contending team. They're trying to get some pieces back for him. So I'm going to keep my eye on it, and it's worth noting. I'll try to trot out a little bit of Kevin Love. I'm really glad you brought up Clarkson. Kind of looked right over him, not going to lie, and he's been quietly producing. Over the past two games, the shot attempts have been there in the double digits, and if that's going to continue at 4,400, I have no problem rolling out him either. So I think those would be the only two options of guys I really look at, but even then, I kind of want to know the news with Kevin Love, but Clarkson's a good call, man. I like that one.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that, especially on a 4-game slate, you overlook him and then he surprises you with like 33 to 35 fantasy points, and then you're regretting the fact that you didn't play him. So yeah, he's a possibility.
I feel like I always end up landing on him at the end of my lineups in my utility spot. Like when I'm just
really?
trying to round it out and I have a little bit of money left, it's like I always have enough money for Jordan Clarkson, and I never want to click it. But now maybe I'll be a little bit more enticed now that you brought him up and kind of opened my eyes to him, Andrew. So I appreciate
All right.
that.
You got it.
All right, man. Anything else on this Cleveland side? I think we hit it up pretty well.
I think we did.
Some value involved. I mean, immediately, right when we first looked at it, I wanted to cross it off, but the more we started talking about it, the more I'm starting to kind of look at this Kevin Love play at 6,200. If willing to take a couple stabs at it, man. if he's going to play 32, that's a great price for him. All right,
Oh
we'll
yeah.
move on to the next one. We have the Dallas Mavericks traveling to Detroit to take on the Pistons. This game's going to be fun, man. I know Coach is going to be watching it. I'll be watching it. We're the hometown Mavs fans, even though it's his hometown, not mine. But that being said, Luka Doncic is on the slate. We have to talk about him. I figure we might as well just hit it right on the head right when we start. Andrew, are you playing Doncic?
Yes.
Yeah, I like it, brother. Me too. I'm always playing Doncic. This is an easy question for me. It's how much Doncic is the question.
Right. Well, I mean, as we discussed, this game is going to be in Mexico City, and so you've got to figure that Luka's going to rise to the occasion because now it's not just some normal game in Dallas. This is an opportunity for him to show his talents to an entire new country. So I think he's going to want to show his best game. And he's had 3 straight games of less than 50 fantasy points. They've been off since Sunday. So I'm really liking this spot for Luka to bounce back and put on a show. So he is going to be in my lineups. And yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, sorry. I was going to say, just absolutely hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of people are going to end up box score chasing on this and watching and see those 3 down games and not want to pay that price tag. It's easy to forget how good this guy was playing and just what his floor actually is. I mean, this is his floor. When you look at like 50 points, this is pretty much his floor. I mean, yeah, there's a 37 in there. Those are few and far between. But when you look at that 40 to 50 points, that's really his absolute like floor, when you ask me.
Right. So it's too bad he's still at 11.4, but it is a 4-game slate and it makes sense. So, looking at the shell lineups here that I've been building, I've got him in there, and it's I'm pretty confident with the rest of the lineup. So we'll get to that. But one guy that's not in this shell lineup that I'm building is Tim Hardaway Jr. And I don't know why that is. So I'm gonna have to tinker with it a little bit. He is up to 5.2, but fun to see him shoot so well last time out, 9 of 12 from distance, and he scored 29 real points. So, he's attractive to me. This game is attractive. It's a 220.5 over-under, 5-point spread. So it could be the highest scoring, closest game of the slate. And I think we just need to look at the news for the rest of the Dallas roster. DeLon Wright is questionable. He missed the last game. So the other 2 guys I would look at if he's out are Powell at 4.5. I think they're going to need some heavy minutes from him dealing with Blake and Drummond. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, he's 4.0. He's a nice value starter that you can slide into your lineup and make it work.
Love the DFS call. Yep, that was one of the guys I had circled. I had Doncic circled. I had Dorian Finney-Smith circled, and you hit the nail on the head with the Hardaway. I was going to bring up the abnormal shooting. I don't think we can really rely on him shooting 9 of 12 from deep again and hitting 10 out of 13 shots altogether. Only one of his shots in the field, not from distance. So a little bit of an outlier. So I'm going to kind of hope that reverts back to normal and avoid him at 5,200. If you want to play him, not going to knock you. Just not going to be one of my primary targets. So yeah, man, I think it's DFS and Doncic to me. Powell's just been playing so bad lately. I can't trust him. I mean, at 4,500, like you said, they're going to need his size in that front court, between him and Kleber. So, I mean, if you want to look at those guys, not going to knock you. I almost think I'd rather pay the $3,700 for Kleber, though, just knowing how bad Powell's actually been this season.
Yeah, I don't understand what the deal is with Powell. You've probably seen more of the Mavericks action than me, but I thought he'd be playing better, especially when he's starting and, playing with Luka. I just thought he would have more easy looks. I mean, looking at the box scores here, 3 of the last 4 games, he's only attempted 3 shots.
Yeah, he's very passive, and that's exactly what it is. It's just, unless it's like a putback dunk, he's not doing anything. He's not really running pick and rolls with Luka too much, and if they are, it's usually Luka's just rolling around the curl, pulling up or finding another open man on the other side of the court, maybe doing a quick swing pass. But yeah, man, he's just struggling. It doesn't look good. I mean, they're getting good minutes out of him, and they're going to need to use his body regardless of whether he's playing good or bad. They're going to need to play him at least 24 minutes, I assume. But you know what? Just that price at 4,500, I think I'd rather take a rare little tournament shot on a guy like Kleber at 3,700. the game script is there for him to kind of see a few more minutes due to the size kind of thing, and he'll probably be drastically underowned compared to Powell on this slate. So that's pretty much what I got for you on Dallas. I think we're pretty much on the same exact boat with this one. So I think we're ready to slide over to Detroit. Next question, we're going to talk about the Pistons. You got to talk about Andre Drummond. Coach is a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of him. I mean, I've kind of been easing him back a little bit, but I want to know where you're at with him. Are you playing him?
No. He's not going to be in my primary build. I mean, I'm a fan of him as well, but I'm going to go back to Blake Griffin here. He's down to 6.7, and last Friday we recommended him, and he went for 42.75 fantasy points. So he gave us that 6x return. He shot 1 for 9 from the field last time out. So I think this is an opportunity to get Blake at a good price at low ownership. So that's my focus in the front court for Detroit. I mean, if I play 5 lineups, then I'll certainly get Drummond in there. I'm not going to play Blake in all 5 lineups, but I guess sort of like Luka, I'm hoping for an opportunity to get him when he's coming off a down game.
I like it. And I have a question for you then. So, looking at Blake, very similar price tags. Kevin Love's a little bit cheaper, but looking at those two guys, who would you prefer?
I like Blake. I just don't think Love is going to play, or if he does play heavy minutes. I mean, if he was going to play heavy minutes, I think it is a tough call. But I'm going to go with Blake here in a game that I think will be a little bit higher scoring, and I think they're going to need him to do more.
I'm with you. I do like Blake. I do prefer him over Drummond as well. Just that savings of 2,900. Knowing that Drummond's usage has been impacted so much with Blake being back in the lineup ever since he did return. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that I have no problem going to Blake Griffin. I'll probably be fading Drummond. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fantastic matchup for him. Dallas is pretty weak on the interior, so I'm not going to knock you if you want to play him. Me personally, though, I don't think I'll be going there. And like you heard me say before, I think I'd rather play Embiid. But it's not a hot take to say that you'd rather play Drummond over Embiid. Both guys can, easily break a slate at any given moment. And I think Drummond's floor is probably a little bit safer than Embiid's. Just looking at knowing that he can grab 20 boards on any given night. Embiid doesn't, he has to share some of those rebounds around with Horford and Tobias Harris. Thank you very much. So, that's pretty much it. I don't really target too many other guys. Keep an eye on Christian Wood. He's just been playing very well lately when Andre Drummond does get into foul trouble. But I don't think we need to go there on that slate, and I haven't been playing too many of the wings. Have you been playing Kennard at all? Because he's a guy that I know he was lighting it up early on in the year, but I have not played this guy at all this season. I don't think I've played Kennard on any slate.
I've played Kennard a few times, maybe a handful of times. I've played Derrick Rose once or twice, but I'm not a huge fan of them. And at this price tag, they're not in my lineup right now. So yeah, for me, it's Blake. And then the other thing we got to mention is you and I both want to play Luka, and that makes it a lot harder to play Drummond. So it's just a natural pairing to play Luka with Blake Griffin in this game because of their price tags. I know they're on opposite sides of the ball, but it just in terms of the sacrifices you have to make if you play Luka, that's one of them. I do want to mention one other guy in this game, and it's our man Boban. Ooh. And the reason I want to mention him is because over the weekend, as you know, I was out in Vegas, and he put up a monster game on Saturday. They let him play in that blowout. He got 23 minutes, put up 42 fantasy points, and I'm so bummed that I didn't get to play him. I mean, first of all, I was out of town, but second of all, there's no DFS in Vegas. You can't play. So I have an excuse. I could not play him, but I just hate missing out on the Boban games when he gets actual minutes. And I think there's a chance he plays in this one. I was looking back at the box scores. Last year, when he was playing for the Clippers, Doc put him in against Detroit, and he had a 10-10 game in, I want to say, maybe 16 minutes of action. So, it makes a lot of sense if you're going to play him occasionally, play him against a guy like Drummond. So if I make 5 lineups, I'm going to have one lineup where I put Boban in there.
I love that call, man. I'm a huge Boban guy.
I know you are.
I'm
I
one.
thought you might like that.
I'm one of the chapter presidents of the Boban fan club around here. I love. I really just love the relationship he has with Tobias Harris. I think that those guys being best friends just makes me feel all happy inside. When I just watch them hanging out. So, no, I'm with you though. That's a great call, man. If they're going to play him, it's going to be now, and then you also get the added benefit where maybe if you're not playing any Doncic, you're not spending up on any of the other ancillary pieces. You can look at him as like a nice one-off in case this game does get out of hand, and even if it doesn't, it's setting up where we might be able to see at least maybe hopefully 10 minutes, and even in 10 minutes, Boban can get you to 20 fantasy points in 10 minutes very easily.
Yes, he can.
Very,
yes,
very
he can.
easily. I mean, we just saw, he's getting that kind of a 2 fantasy point per minute kind of production the last time he rolled out and got 40 and 20. So I'm with you, man. That's a good call, man. You've been uncovering a few good pieces for us with Clarkson and now Boban. So I got to kind of write both those names down and keep those guys in mind as some low-owned pivot plays.
I like it.
All right, man. Well, we have one game left before we jump into that last and final game. Quick shout out over again at Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. These guys absolutely fantastic. Please check them out at hawaiianisles.com and check out their blends. Buy them as a gift. Try them out. They have smaller little sampler ones as well. You can get a little bit of every kind of roast. I like the dark roast. That bold flavor in the morning, waking me up every single time. This is the kind of coffee that you smell it when it gets brewed. It wakes up everybody in your house if you leave the doors open. It's that good. Please, guys, go check them out. And when you do, let them know that we sent you. So, that's it, man. We have one game left. It's going to be the Portland Trail Blazers traveling to Denver. This game's going to be played in Denver, so we have to, factor in that altitude. But there's going to be a lot of good options that we can look at in this game. Which side of the ball are you feeling like starting with, Andrew?
I'll start with Denver. I was watching when Jamal Murray got hurt in Philly, and kind of funny how they call it a right trunk contusion. He basically got hit in the ribs. So, again, it's Wednesday night right now. I haven't heard if he's going to play. Last I heard, he's questionable. But I'd like to play one of these point guards. So if he starts and he's good to go, then I like him. If not, then you got to look at Monty Morris at only 3.9. Now, as for the rest of the lineup, Barton is 6.3. He's one of those guys that on a 4-game slate, you definitely want to have some shares. And he really took advantage of Murray's absence against Philly. Had an excellent game, initiating a lot of the offense. So, if Murray plays, certainly we can't expect that type of output. But I still like him at 6.3. And we have some news in the front court too. Paul Millsap is questionable with left foot soreness. He's only 4.9. So we got to keep an eye on that, because if he doesn't play, Jeremy Grant's only 3.9. So we could certainly have some value opening up on Denver.
Absolutely, man. And, Murray, I'm expecting to play. I believe he posted something on Instagram saying that he should be fine for the Thursday game. So I'm expecting him to suit out. Does that mean we're going to get Murray at 100%? Probably not. Probably playing a little bit hobbled. That might be just enough to kind of push me in the other direction, whether it's to Barton or to some of the value on this side of the ball. So I don't think I'll be having too many shares of Murray just because of the injury tag and designation. I don't know. I never hurt my left trunk. But it just doesn't sound like it's that easy of an injury to play through. When you're talking about, you're saying it's between your ribs. I would have assumed that it was like your coccyx bone, like your tailbone. If somebody said that they injured their left trunk, that's immediately what I assumed. So
yeah, but it was more the side.
Yeah.
It's it's sort of weird that he acted like he was in so much pain, didn't come back, but I guess we'll find out how, what it's like to respond to a trunk injury.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking about like the Horton Hears a Who from Dr. Seuss over here. But I want to talk about the Millsap injury because you heard me mention it a bunch of times already on the show. They're going to treat them with kid gloves. He has no problem resting any games when he's healthy, let alone even remotely hurt. They want to make sure that this entire team is going to be able to stay healthy going into playoffs, and that's kind of the reason why they brought in a guy that's versatile like Grant who can play multiple positions. So I'll be playing a ton of Grant, I think at 3,900, just kind of in the anticipation that Millsap does rest or is limited with a foot injury. And I think that's a more than fair price tag, even if Millsap's playing. So He's definitely going to be one of my value plays I'm looking to get exposure to. And then Morris is a good call for some reason that Murray does sit. And even if he does play, I think Morris is a guy that in 20, 22 minutes can still get us there at 3,900. So I'm going to be going towards the value a lot in this game. I don't have a problem playing Jokic if you want at 9K. Like I said, we just talked about a couple other centers at around a little bit more expensive that I would probably prefer. And then Barton has been playing well all season long. Came out and blew up on the slate in the last game. We finally got that bounce back Barton game after he was struggling for a few games prior, kind of showing us what he did. And he didn't do it in the rebounding, man. That's kind of what's been hurting him a little bit. He's been rebounding like a beast all season long, and then take out the last game against Philly and the 3 games prior. He only had a combined 8 rebounds in those 3 games when he's averaging 6.6 on the season. So I'm going to expect that a little bit of the norm to kind of return. Barton should start to kind of pick things back up, and I have no problem going back to him at 6,300. Okay, man, that's all I got, though, over on this Denver side. Anything else that you see that you're kind of looking at? Or?
No, that's it. That sounds good. Tell me about Portland. Who do you like there?
So I want to talk about Whiteside just because all these centers, I think he might fly under the radar. 8,100, I have no problem rolling them. It's going to be decisions getting made, so it makes sense in some of those Doncic lineups if you don't or if you can't spend up on a guy like Embiid or Drummond to kind of look this way. He's just the floor, the ceiling, everything has been there for him this season. Even in limited minutes, he gets it done for us. He flashed a little bit of that 10-block upside that he showed a few years ago that we haven't seen in a while over the string of the past few games. I believe it was against Chicago. Put up a nice 10-block game, so he's looking like good Whiteside. He looks like he's in a good place. I have no problem rolling him out there, even with his game being played in the high altitude. He's probably my favorite play on Portland.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He did well in this matchup. They also played in the season opener. He went 16, 19, and 2. So I like him as well. A little bit of a discount from those other centers. And I noticed, looking at the distribution of minutes with Hood out, I think Portland is still an opportunity for a value play as well. We've got Hazonia. He had 23 minutes last time out. He's 3.3. So I think he's somebody you can look at. And then Anthony Simons, he's only 3.9. And we all know that he has really stepped up this year, getting more and more confidence. He had 29 minutes last time out, and we've seen him play alongside Lillard and or McCollum consistently this year. So, if you're looking to play Luka, I think you want to look at a guy like Simons.
I like that call, man. I mean, he's a fantastic young player. Really looking forward. I like just throwing him into my lineups anytime Lillard does sit out. He's a great point per minute player. He's been getting the minutes. I think he played 28 minutes in the last one, so I have no problem going with him at 3,900 as well. And when we're talking about Lillard and McCollum, got to bring them up real quick. Everyone's always looking at those two guys, trying to decide if you want the savings when you look at McCollum. In this kind of scenario, I would prefer Lillard, even given the price tags. Lillard's 8,500, McCollum 6,800 on DK, and it's simply because of Gary Harris defense. I mentioned it a lot. I don't try to test Gary Harris, under the radar player all around, let alone defensively. So. I think I would prefer Lillard out of those two as well. So I guess my primary options when I'm looking at my player pool on this Portland side of the ball would be Lillard with Whiteside. Whiteside probably be my favorite play. I'll play some Simons. I don't think I'm going to get to Hazonia. No problem going to Simons though. And if you want to just keep trying to plug in Bazemore and hoping that you're getting those upside games. I have no problem doing that. I'm not just going to jump off of him in GPPs because he put up a couple stinkers. May not be the best matchup, but I still know what kind of upside and tournament upside Bazemore has on any given night. And I have a good feeling that given this matchup and given his recent performances, that a lot of other people kind of just decide to hop right off and go to this guy like Simons.
Yeah, I also want to chime in there on the guards and agree with you. I like Lillard over McCollum here, especially if he's going to be playing against either a banged-up Murray or Monte Morris.
Good points. Good points. Okay. That is it, man. Do you have anything else from this game? Or did we just crank this out pretty quickly?
I think we just cranked it out.
All right, man. Cool. Well, that's all we got for you guys. I mean, it's a nice little 4-game card. I think all the games, after talking about them, should be pretty competitive. I don't think we're going to have too many blowouts to worry about. That Cleveland San Antonio game may be a little ugly all around, but it's both teams are pretty bad. So I don't expect anyone to necessarily run away with it either. All right, man. Well, that's all we have for you. So, guys, if you have a second, please give us a thumbs up, a rate, and review. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, everywhere your podcasts are found. And we do really appreciate it, and we do take the constructive criticism to heart, man. We really try to, recreate this podcast every single show. We're trying to find new ways that we could be better, new things that we could do, and we take every single suggestion that you guys have to heart. And we're trying to grow this thing and just make it for you guys and give you guys what you want. So please also give us a quick follow on Twitter. You can find me at Mike Apotria. That's MikeApotria. You can find Andrew at Language Olympic, LanguageOlympic. And then you can find Coach at Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi. And you can find Miles at Miles6565. So that's our team, guys. We really do appreciate it. Andrew, any final thoughts before we close this out?
Good luck, everyone.
That's it, guys. Good luck.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.